Hi, I'm Joe Ovsenek. I'm president and CEO of P2 Gold Inc. We're recently started up Gold Copper Explorer in the Golden Triangle of British Columbia, and then down in the Walker Lane Trend in Nevada.
Joe, good to have you in London. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
What are you doing over here?
We're attending the Mines and Money conference,
Right.
And meeting investors and getting the word out about P2 Gold.
You don't need to be the investors. Surely they're delighted with what you did previously at Pretium.
We have a following from Pretium, but a lot of those followers are looking for a more advanced stage company.
Right, okay.
Getting the word out about ExploreCo.
Right, okay. So here's the thing, what I'd love to get outside. So it's just, because we've not met spoken before, and get a sense of what you were about. So can you give us background on you, what you've done, and also introduce some of the team?
Oh, well, we launched P2 Gold back in May of 2020. We came out of Pretium Resources. Our teams worked together well. Ken and I, our chief exploration officer, worked together since 1996.
Okay.
That over there. We built up, we were key members of the team that built up Silver Standard up till 2010. In 2009, Ken's team discovered the Brucejack deposit. We moved that into Pretium Resources in late 2010, and then we built that mine. We took the Brucejack mine from discovery to production in under 8 years, which for British Columbia is quite a feat.
Remarkable. Okay, so I think a lot of people are going to cut you a lot of slack because I think they suspect that you'll have learned a few things along the way, right? So what I'd like to get from you today is, what are those things in terms of how you structure the business start? I mean, so how have you done that? Obviously, board and management have got setting up a big chunk of it. You've also got water in there. So how do you go about that?
Well, we've structured it so that we have significant positions. In the end of the day, we want to have a significant say in the direction of the company. And if you're management without a big position, you don't have the say, right? The decisions are being made by you at the end of the day. Right now, we're combined. Ken and I are the major shareholder of the company. We're over 20% of the issued outstanding shares, so we have a significant say in how this company moves forward in the direction we take.
Right, okay. You've also got a partner man that you might find themselves, helping out the assets. You've had to kind of renegotiate things recently, but to give us a sense of what that relationship looks like.
Well,
actually,
in essence, we purchased our asset down in Nevada, Gabbs asset, Gabbs Project for off of Waterton, a private equity outfit out of Toronto.
Yeah.
So as part of the consideration, we gave them a significant portion of the company. They're currently sitting at 19.1% of the issued outstanding shares of the company. They've been good supporters. They're looking to see us move the Gabbs project from, it's been sitting in inventory in their books for years. They want to see us move it into production. So we're pushing on that end right now.
Okay, so is there any kind of formal agreement in terms of, because obviously 19.9 is nice if they can afford their money. It's also an overhang if they don't want to. And, you can manage that.
No, that's true. And we do get that question a fair bit. They're supportive. They've got their position. That they're not actively involved in the company.
No board seats.
No board seats, but they are looking for us to get to the end result, which is production.
So in their mind, as far as the conversations you had today they want to see you get this thing into production.
Correct. All our conversations with them have been, how are we going to move this? How are you going to move this forward? And we restructured our payments. When we picked up the project, it was a different environment for gold and in the market in general. Maybe a little aggressive on our payment obligations over time frame. So we've restructured that now, given our push stop payments for 3-4 years, which gives us a lot of time to get the PEA completed on Gabbs. It's in process right now. We're pushing on it to get it done in the third quarter of this year. And then we'll look to sell a royalty on the project, pay them out, and then move the project forward towards.
You would take them out via, interesting. Okay, good, because, I think we'll more of that on if we speak again, because I think people want to know what they're kind of getting into bed with. Let's move on to the projects themselves. Obviously, you give us a clues where you got one of them. Can you tell us a little bit about the other projects in the portfolio? I guess
I think the excitement in P2 Gold right now is our BAM project.
Right.
So it's located up in the Golden Triangle. It's about 9 kilometers north of Bruce Jack, which, as I mentioned, we built it and we took that from discovery to a mine. So we know the territory well. We know how to operate there well. We have good relations with all the various groups in the area. So we're very comfortable working in the Golden Triangle. When we started out, we launched P2 in May of 2020. We were approached by a fellow that we had worked with in the past. He recently staked some ground. It was the Van ground. We looked at it. We liked what had happened in the past.
Yeah.
You could tell there was something going on the property. There was copper exploration from the 60s, high-grade gold exploration from the early 80s, and since then it had sort of sat dormant. But with that much going on, geologically, we figured there was something underlying it.
Right.
So we've come in, went back to basics, did some grassroots exploration, discovered a new gold zone. But I think the real joy in the project is going to be the porphyry. We believe there's a significant gold copper porphyry sitting at depth on the project and not too deep at all.
Right, I guess it's a case of stick with what you know. Because when you're going to come off a big sale like that, a big high-profile sale like that, I imagine there's probably a little bit of inflow in terms of deals to look at. But did you feel as important to stick with what you know because you know the core area, or how did you get?
No, that's it. We like the front.
Yeah,
we're comfortable there. We know the people, and I think I think people don't look enough at jurisdictional risk. And from our perspective, jurisdiction is going to be more and more and more important as things move on. You just notice how Chile's looking to nationalize lithium. You have solid rule of law in British Columbia, solid rule of law in Nevada. Stick with the tier 1 jurisdictions because you know what you're going to need.
Yeah, I've got a couple of mine in Chile and very sensitive about that.
Yes,
to what I know. Okay, so I agree with the jurisdictional risk. It's going to be more problematic, and okay, you it's in your own backyard, so it makes sense to do that. You did say we think we've got a copper gold porphyry sitting down there. Porphyry potential is a phrase that comes along regularly on this show.
Absolutely.
So what do you know in terms of what data have you inherited? What drilling have you done, and what can lead you to believe that could be the case?
There's a number of factors that come into it. Initially, we've got this copper on this part of the property, the Jang copper zone from the 60s, the Fountain 10 gold zone from the 80s, our new Monarch Gold Zone that we've discovered up in the northwest from 2020, 2021. And you put it all together, there's a big epithermal footprint on the property, which we believe, is being driven by a porphyry at depth, which is the usual case. We've then completed some airborne geophysics, deep penetrating ZTEM survey, ground-based MT survey, put that all together, a nice 3D interpretation. And it's amazing how without the geophysicists seeing what the geology was and vice versa, that thing's made up so well. We can see how the drilling and what we see in our assays matches up with what the geophysics is saying, even though they were completely independently.
Okay, so that's, and did you say you kind of reinterpreted the historic data, and if so, how much of that was there?
There really wasn't a lot of historic data.
Right.
It was more. We came in, we drilled, we did some soil sampling in 2020,
Right.
Discovered the zone, drilled 6 holes in 2021, 4 into the Monarch Gold Zone, all hit ore grade ore, 2 holes into the Jang copper zone, all hit nice copper grade.
Right.
So
what was that mean with nice copper grade too? I can sort of right.
We had some intercepts in the percent.
Okay.
So good grade.
Yeah.
So we came back last year. We drilled predominantly in the Monarch Gold Zone. We drilled 13,962 meters, mostly in the Monarch Gold Zone. Came up with a nice resource at surface. Nothing big, 500,000 ounces, maybe 0.6 grams per ton in that range. But it gave us a sense for the footprint. This Monarch Gold Zone covers an area of 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer and change, and is room for growth.
Right.
It just shows there's something big happening. There's a lot of, just looking at the rocks and at the textures and anything else, we know something is driving this, and there's a lot of heat that went into the system.
Right. So tell me, again, you think that process got a mine up and running within 8 years. That's rapid. Is there any pressure on you now to kind of race to the phase? You talked about getting PEA out soon, right? So, and you got to the Canadian model is drill the edge of the envelope.
We're not the typical. We like to move things forward.
Right.
It's just like with BAM. Everybody said, "Well, why are you putting out a resource estimate?"
Right.
Drill for another few years. Well,
Start the Canadian model, right?
You need to set some milestones and some benchmarks, and you just need to. You got to push things forward. You need that sense of urgency. If you just want to keep drilling, go ahead. But a project, exploration projects are only there to become mines. And if you don't think it's going to become a mine, why bother?
Keep drilling.
Why keep drilling it? So you want to move it forward along that process to become a mine.
Well, I think that's very much what the Australians believe. They would, wherever they are in the world, they would pretty much say.
Well, they still got things, but I will get into it. I'm sure.
And wherever they are in the world, they will go, look, we'll get a resource, get the thing going, get cash flowing, and then we'll keep doing some exploration, and additional drilling work, whatever that may be. The Canadians, not so much. And that's what surprised me, sort of looking increments over across 10 to the state. But to you, speed, rapidly moving through the phases is important, but money to do all of this. Economic studies cost money. They're not drilling. They're not finding more answers in the ground. So how do you get that balance between, how do you fund that kind of progressive growth and get the expansion component and show the potential of this?
It's tough in this market.
Yeah.
One of the things for the exploration side in Canada, you have the benefit of the flow-through share regime, where we can pass the cost back to the shareholders that pay off the taxes. So there's usually flow-through money available for you. What are the knock-ons from that, though, is that you then have a bunch of shares in pools of guys that just a tax deduction. So there's a trade-off to it. On the other funds, like to advance the PEA and things like that, at this stage, Ken and I have been funding a fair bit of that.
That's where I wanted to go with it. Because I know you're not necessarily, there's been lots of small raises, private things like this. It's been, but you're not taking big chunks. You're obviously conscious of dilution, your big shareholders yourselves. But how much actual cash have you put in? You must have made a few quid. A few dollars?
I'd say between Ken and I, I think we were talking the other day, we must be up in that $7-8 million.
Okay, so that's real.
Yeah.
Because again, it's just
we're motivated.
You are motivated because that's actually cold hard cash. That's not just cheap stock at the beginning, right? So I think that's important for people to note, but for sure. But coming back to that, how do you get that balance thing between let's move through the economic phases, because it asks people to judge you at that point. Okay, we've done the PEA and go, wow, it's not as big as I thought. Right?
If it's true, but
how do you get over that?
Well, you just have to keep moving forward. So, and if the PA comes out and says, look at what you guys were thinking, you're way off base. Well, that's good to know early on,
right?
Before you drill another 100,000 meters and then find out you're off base.
Yeah.
So you want to find out that early enough. Okay, does this thing have a chance of making a go at it? And maybe the PEA isn't great to start with, and then you have to do some. Okay, where do we refine our? Do we do more metallurgy? We need to drill off a few more ounces. But it lets you. It points you in the direction of where you need additional work.
And do you think there's a little bit of this, which is like, I don't want to waste my own time on something which is not going to be significant, right? So you talked about, some people that just keep drilling because they know it's never going to work. But the amount of geos that I speak to, the amount of CEOs I speak to, it's a lot. Say, pretty darn quickly whether this thing's real or not.
There's some projects you do right away, both sides of it.
Yeah.
And there's some that are just on the margin. And it's a question, is it, what's got to change? Does it need more tons? Does it need more, maybe some new technology, a different approach to processing? Those are the ones in the middle.
But don't you go up to the best targets first? You're not going to I'll do the marginal stuff first and can work your way to the good stuff. It's not a religious experience. This is like, you've got to go for the best stuff first.
Well, when you're exploring, absolutely. So that's why with BAM, take it for example, we know we can expand the surface mineralization. Maybe we get it up to a couple million ounces, but look at the real potential is, 3, 4, 500 meters below the surface,
Right.
where we think we have the porphyry mineralizations.
Right.
Yeah.
Deeper drilling.
Yeah, it's
More expensive drilling.
more expensive, but in the scheme of things, 500 meters isn't a shit.
Okay.
If you look at the guys in the triangle, all of them were drilling 1,000 meters plus to get down to the ore zone. We think, based on our geophysics, we believe we're in that 400 or 500 meters from surface. So, different kettle of fish.
Right. And in terms of, we talked about jurisdictional risk earlier, if I'm talking to some of the Nevada-based companies last year, they're going, geez, man, the drilling costs are gone out of whack here. We are struggling with this, can't make it work. Are you favouring VAM? Is that your flagship? And how you allocate capital and time? And well, because they're great jurisdictions, theoretically.
At this stage, the way we're allocating is one's in engineering. So, from a company perspective, there's not that much happening on our side of the thing as well. The engineers have worked it.
Okay.
So that way we can focus on BAM. We believe BAM by the end of this summer is going to truly be a stand-up flagship for any company. And so that's where the focus is.
That stays in the portfolio. That's where you go. Do you know me? Because there's small companies, and you still.
Oh,
right.
We're a very small company.
Right. But,
absolutely.
But you have to give yourself many options and choices, and to start behaving like a big company too quickly, you burn through the capital structure, and it's painful. So you've got to decide a number of assets in the portfolio. What is it? Question history. How do you move those assets through the phases? Do you hang on to them? Do you offload them? How do you minimize dilution? Well, where I'm going.
I think rather than we talk about this a fair bit. If you just you have a discovery and you put a for sale sign in it, it just sits there.
Right.
So the way something happens is you push it towards production, and that way, take it with Bruce Jack. People could have come in and bought that for a lot cheaper, a lot earlier, but it was during periods when metal prices are low and companies the juniors have very low market caps and all that. Nobody wants to touch them. When metal prices go up and everybody's market cap's way up, that's when they get purchased. So
it's the strangest.
But you look at every cycle, it's always the same.
I know.
And so, Bruce Jack had to go into production, operate for a number of years so that completely de-risk it before a major would step in. So really it depends on what kind of risk they assume, what kind of market is. But from our perspective, look at you just go push it ahead hard. And at some point, if they want that more than you want it, well, then that's what they pay up for it. Now, if BAM is what we truly believe it is, a big gold copper porphyry system, then that's something for a major to come in and do. So, we'll advance it, we'll drill it off, no problem, start metallurgy, but that's really a major's job.
And I understand with regards, and also trying to drive that competitive expansion as well. So, and so I'm dancing around a bit. I just want to kind of overview of an instruction to you and the guy and the team, and then the after part of the association is with regards to what you think is important. Obviously, gold price over $2,000. Perfect environment for producers. Lovely. They'll be building up hopefully war chests soon. But copper as well. That's a kind of real driver at the moment. It says, handsome heavy bid about we aren't seeing enough new finds, new belts. The grades are lower. It's more expensive. This is deeper. Chile, obviously, let's see what happens there. Is yours a gold copper project, a copper gold project? What's it look like under?
Well, in the area, when you look at where we're located up in the Golden Triangle, Galore Creek to the west, Chris to the northeast, Shaft Creek to the north, they're all copper. If you truly look at them, they're copper and gold. And nowadays, you look at a lot of the biggest gold mines in the world, they're copper, like with a copper in them. So, and so it's just, I think when you see these copper gold porphyries, they're big systems, long life mines, and that's why people want them, because you're not building a new mine every 10 years. You build that mine and it goes on 30, 40, longer.
Yeah. Okay, and talking going on and on, the market.
Yep.
precious metal sucks right now. Okay, you couldn't have picked a worse time to launch a company, could you? For COVID, economic crises.
Yeah.
Well, you know. But how do you view these things? Because obviously
It's cycles.
right. Okay.
And you know they're going to be cycles. And it's a question of working through the cycles. There's a fair bit of gray hair, seeing a lot of cycles.
You're in 25.
Hard living.
Okay.
But yes,
Yeah.
you just know the cycles come and they go. And so you have to stay in the game, keep working ahead. And you know, when the cycle changes, you'll be rewarded if you've got, especially if you have something that people want.
Yeah, and exactly. I think we need to remind people of that. It is cyclical. We do come out the other side, and it should be a good environment for gold. It should definitely be a good environment for copper. And I think the fact you're putting your money into this thing, I think, helps you where other explorer codes perhaps are struggling a bit in terms of cash constrained or having to raise very expensive money for them, and it's diluting to the established shareholders.
Tough work.
It's a tough market. So in terms of like looking forward to this year, what are the moments we're looking for? In the old days, you used to call catalysts, but catalysts stopped working a while ago. So what are we looking for?
Well, if we look ahead over, say, the next 6 months, we expect to start drilling up at BAM, say, depends on the snow levels. We're just going in, we've got a couple of our geos going in next week to check. But we should be starting to drill around middle of June. And then we'll be drilling, our first phase of drilling is going to be 4,000 or 5,000 meters, see what the results are. If they're what we think we are, we'll go out, we'll raise additional flow through funds to continue drilling through the end of September.
Right.
So on that,
What is the season up there?
we're helicopter supported. We don't have a road in yet. So it's late May. You can go a little earlier.
Right.
There's more snow shoveling, so costs are higher.
Yeah.
Reasonably, say June through end of September, 4 months, and you can push the front into that. You can't really push past September. That's when the snow starts coming in with the helicopters. They don't work well, and so do I.
Right. Okay. And that's, I guess, and again, talking about like going through the phases and cycles and so forth. You haven't done a resin yet. It's helicopter. Currently, it's seasonal as well. Camps need to be built. All of that kind of good stuff. So down the line, you're obviously very aware of those sort of current costs and future costs to this. So again, in terms of what you need to see from this asset up there, BAM, what to be able to make a decision about how long you keep pumping the money in and don't just call it a day and maybe refocus efforts elsewhere. What do you need to see?
Short term, we need to see success out of this year's drill program.
Meaning?
We need to
Run that
drill it to a porphyry.
Right. Okay.
We have a number of targets. We've picked our top, say, 5-10 drill holes. Well, first top 10 drill holes are all picked out right now. One of those has to hit. If not, we'll step back. We have 47,000 plus hectares. Right. So it's a big area. There's a lot happening geologically, so we'd have to do more groundwork.
Yeah.
So maybe step back, think about it, more geology, more mapping, more geophysics. But on a success basis, we hit a porphyry this summer.
Right. So on just one of the holes, 10 holes hit, that's a success.
Absolutely.
And anyone looking in should go, that's a good result.
Absolutely.
Okay. Understood. Let's over there. Great to meet you. Love to hear a story. And maybe come back on when you've got a bit more advanced on something.
Look forward to catch up in September.
Right. Sweet. Cheers.
Thanks.